All right, this is Ubaid on behalf of V Electronics, and in this video, we'll talk about government spending on education, for example. All right, so when it comes to government spending on education, okay, the spending may or may not increase human capital in general. Okay, studies have shown that despite the spending on human capital, so education, by providing resources and access to those resources, it's possible that the students may or may not receive higher grades. Okay, so that's more of a risk for the government to take, for example. Okay, however, in general, it is a responsibility for the government to provide access to education, to provide access to affordable education to everybody within the country to increase the human capital, which in turn may lead to higher investments in physical capital as well as personal consumption. Okay, so education, investment in education may or may may not increase physical capital. This is physical capital. All right, so this is education. Now, when it comes to education, all right, when it comes to education, we have to understand that money that is spent on education, such as your a government spending on education, whether it's on infrastructure, such as a building, or resources, materials, equipment, such as computers, okay, books, textbooks, so on and so forth. As government spends money on education, the GDP goes up because government spending goes up. Now, this GDP goes up conditionally, okay, which means that if the spending has a return on investment, okay, where the human capital goes up, personal consumption goes up, okay, capital expenditure, capital investment goes up as people were educated, go on to become uh, employees of larger corporations and businesses, okay, and provide them with the uh, revenue that they expect from new employees, okay, it's possible that the capital expenditure, okay, the corporations, companies, and businesses may decide to invest in more machinery, equipment, and capital, okay, to hire more employees to increase revenue. All right. It may also be possible that because of an increased human capital, okay, the uh, newly graduated individuals, for example, may go ahead and open their own businesses or provide services, which indirectly or directly contribute to the GDP and economy. Okay, so human capital goes up. Okay, however, the amount of money that goes into education, the government spending on education may not be directly proportional, okay, to the amount of human capital that goes up as well as the amount of GDP growth. All right. And that has to do with success, okay, as to how successful the spending was, how successful was the access of resources provided to students, for example, okay, the computers that were provided to students, okay, the textbooks that were provided to students, or okay, the low tuition fees, okay, that were offered to students. All right. So that has to do with GDP. So as human capital goes up, okay, GDP may go up. All right. And it's the same concept with public infrastructure spending when it came to roads, highways, and streets. Okay, some roads and highways may be useful, some may not be so useful, as a result of which some may add to GDP, while others may increase spending but may not necessarily add to GDP. All right, so that would be it when it comes to this video. On behalf of V Electronics, this is Obey. Have yourself a great day.